One spring morning, Miyu asks her cat to watch the house while she heads to work. During her commute, she reflects on how she doesn't feel much different from her school days. Suddenly, a snowflake lands on her and she notices Yukiya standing nearby with his legs frozen to the ground. He explains that it's his first day on the job and that he's so nervous that his legs have frozen up. Miyu tries pouring her tea on his frozen legs, but nothing happens. Instead, she offers him tea and a snack, which helps him relax. Finally, the ice cracks and Yukiya tells her that he is a descendant of a Yuki Onna but prefers spring over winter. He thanks her for the tea, and the two part ways, each wondering if they'll meet again. At work, Miyu is surprised to find that she and Yukiya are not only in the same company but also seated right next to each other. Yukiya is so happy that he accidentally causes snow to swirl around him. This prompts Komori, a descendant of a fox spirit, to rush over and display her ears and tail. Seijima then interrupts and introduces himself to the group. After work, Miyu tells her cat about her eventful day. The next day, Yukiya accidentally causes a small snowstorm but quickly stops himself. Miyu notices a picture of flowers and Yukiya confesses that while he loves flowers, he can't touch them. Moved by this, Miyu searches for a way to help him and brings him straw mulch, hoping it might solve his problem. Yukiya is touched by her thoughtful gesture. Later, at work, Yukiya causes a brief blizzard and silently admits to himself that he loves Miyu. During a conversation, Yukiya mentions that he loves cats, so Miyu shows him a picture of hers. He expresses a desire to touch one someday. The next day, she brings him some of her cat's fallen whiskers, explaining that it works as a protective charm. Back at his home, Yukiya wonders how he can repay Miyu for her kindness. Remembering that she wanted to try a limited edition dessert, he searched for it for an entire week and finally brought it to her. She thanked him and commented that the snowman he had made to keep the dessert cold was cute, which made Yukiya so happy that he had caused another small blizzard. At the end of the workday, Yukiya loses an important document and feels disheartened. He creates a snow hut for himself as he searches for the lost papers. Concerned, Miyu offers to help, but Yukiya insists he can manage. Later, after work hours, she returns with coffee for him, which cheers him up so much that he accidentally freezes the coffee. Meanwhile, Seijima falls ill but insists on working. Yukiya takes on most of his tasks so Seijima can go home early. When Miyu passes by and compliments him for being so nice, it leaves Yukiya feeling giddy. After returning home, Miyu notices her cat sleeping on a toy TV she had given him, but he immediately leaves when he sees her. Later, the company announces that their employee workshop will take place in Okinawa, which stresses Yukiya out as he imagines the worst. Komori, Seijima, and Miyu discuss their upcoming company trip to Okinawa. Meanwhile, Yukiya freezes his legs again, feeling anxious. He worries that he might get excited and accidentally cause a snowstorm that would ruin everything. Determined to help, Miyu begins researching ways for Yukiya to enjoy the beach. The next day, Miyu gives Yukiya a surf drum, explaining that it might help him get used to the sound of the waves. She adds that she hopes he can join them because she'll miss him if he doesn't go on the retreat. This confession flusters Yukiya, motivating him to start training. In the days leading up to the company retreat, Yukiya works hard to stay calm. The day of the trip arrives and they settle at the resort. Once the seminars for the day are over, Komori suggests they all go enjoy the sea. At the beach, Yukiya admits that the heat will cause him to melt, so he needs to stay in the shade. However, he thanks Miyu for the surf drum, which allows him to enjoy the beautiful view with her. Miyu tells Yukiya that she's been to Okinawa before, but a storm had ruined her trip, so she was looking forward to a second chance to enjoy the beach. She then gave him a travel guidebook that she made herself. Yukiya is so touched by this gesture that he nearly causes a blizzard but manages to calm himself down just in time. Miyu shows Yukiya photos of her cat and tries to express her love for her cat using a Kansai accent, which Yukiya finds adorable. After another full day of seminars, Yukiya goes shopping for souvenirs and bumps into Miyu. They both reach for the saying she's a lion statue, but Yukiya lets Miyu have it. In return, she picks out a different one for him. Overcome with joy, Yukiya causes it to snow. People are delighted by the pretty snowfall, and Miyu compliments him on a job well done. The next day, Yukiya wakes up to a heat wave, causing him to panic. He searches the hotel's shop for ice but has no luck. Meanwhile, Miyu notices his absence at breakfast and decides to look for him. She finds him hiding in the shade, but by then, Yukiya has shrunk down to the size of a child. Miyu tells him to wait while she searches for ice and returns with an ice pop from the buffet. As she watches how cute he is, she pats his head, only to be shocked when he suddenly returns to his regular size. By the end of the day's training, the office celebrates with a feast. Komori expresses her desire to see fireworks but worries that it's too late to find a good spot. Miyu leads the group to a secluded area where they can enjoy the fireworks. They take photos to mark the occasion, and while browsing through her gallery, Miyu notices a picture of the small Yukiya. She decides to keep the photo a secret. The next day, the group is debriefed by their manager, who announces that they will be getting new assignments at the beginning of the week. Yukiya feels troubled by the thought of being separated from Miyu. Yukiya anxiously awaits news about his new assignment, praying to Nimero's whiskers that he stays in the same department as Miyu. Meanwhile, after her bath, Miyu scrolls through her phone and feels happy about the close friendship she's formed. When Yukiya finally receives the message confirming that he'll remain in the same department as Miyu. The next day, they discover they'll be sitting next to each other again, prompting Yukiya to cause a small blizzard in his excitement. Grateful for all the good fortune, he wonders if it's Nimero's whiskers at work. Reflecting on how much Miyu helped him during the retreat, he decides he wants to repay her. On his commute, Yukiya sees a post suggesting that taking someone to a nice restaurant is a good way to say thanks. He overhears Komori and Miyu discussing their favorite foods, but when he tries to ask Miyu directly, she says she isn't picky and likes all cuisines. That night, Yukiya researches restaurants, determined to pick a place that will make her happy. The next day, Miyu finds Yukiya completely frozen at work and asks if he's okay. Miyu offers to massage him, but her strength surprises him, leaving him in agony. Encouraged by her words to have confidence, Yukiya gathers the courage to ask Miyu to dinner. She agrees and Yukiya leaves to make a reservation. That evening, they arrive at a luxurious restaurant. When Miyu compliments the food, Yukiya is so happy that he causes a light snowfall, prompting other guests to wonder if it's part of a show. Miyu reflects on how difficult it is to talk to him, worrying that Yukiya might be bored because she isn't speaking much. Miyu's phone rings and she steps out to take the call. A waiter comments that Yukiya is lucky to be on a date, and Yukiya happily agrees. When Miyu returns and overhears him, she blushes. Yukiya is equally embarrassed and falls off his chair. The next day, Seijima tries to get Yukiya's attention, finally succeeding when he mentions Miyu. Meanwhile, Komori questions Miyu about her feelings for Yukiya. Eavesdropping, Yukiya overhears Miyu saying that they aren't close since she doesn't have his number or know what he does on his days off. However, admits she likes him very much and wants to build a snowman with him. Seijima is surprised they haven't exchanged contact information yet. Later, Yukiya finally asks for Miyu's number. Noticing that her contact name is Nimero, he finds it charming. She promises to send pictures of her cat when she gets home. Happy they've gotten closer, Miyu sends him a photo of herself and her cat, which Yukiya finds adorable. He tries to save it, but accidentally freezes his phone. The next morning, Yukiya receives a good morning text from Miyu and feels determined to do his best. At work, he notices that Miyu's lock screen is a picture from their retreat and feels giddy that he's part of it. Miyu, meanwhile, is relieved that Yukiya didn't see her home screen, which is an embarrassing photo of him when he was melting. Later, while walking back from buying lunch, they run into Katori, who surprises Miyu by growing wings and greeting Yukiya, saying it's been a while. Yukiya introduces Katori to Miyu, a descendant of a phoenix. Katori meets the rest of the group and shares that he used to be an artist. He shows pictures of his artwork, but his colleagues respond with unsure gazes. Otonashi interrupts and calls Katori back to work. Later, Miyu accidentally bumps into Yukiya, dropping her documents. As he helps pick them up, Yukiya notices a flyer for George the Kitten too. Miyu tries to hide it, but Yukiya has already seen it. She admits she finds the show cute and watched the first movie with several children. She invites him to watch the second movie with her, and he agrees. That night, Yukiya texts Miyu that he finished watching the first movie, only to find out she was watching it too. Though Yukiya tries to sleep, his nervous excitement keeps him awake, and he ends up freezing his bed. The next day, they meet outside the movie theater, and Yukiya realizes they're finally spending time together on their day off. Meanwhile, Seijima is surprised to see them at the movies but decides to leave them alone. He watches a different film and coincidentally meets Katori, who takes the seat next to him. During the movie, Yukiya accidentally causes wind and snow to appear, much to the delight of the children who think it's part of the movie's special effects. During an emotional scene, Yukiya notices Miyu crying and hands her a handkerchief. She wipes her tears and thanks him. After the movie, Miyu asks what happens when he cries. Yukiya says it's a secret, and Miyu jokingly replies that she hopes to see it one day, quickly correcting herself to say she doesn't wish for him to cry. Yukiya considers inviting her to dinner but realizes it's too early. Instead, Miyu takes the lead and invites him to a cafe. The following day, both Yukiya and Miyu end up working overtime. Yukiya, excited to be alone with her, offers to make coffee for them. While waiting for calls, Miyu mentions that Komori invited her to dinner, but she had to decline because of work. Komori ended up inviting Seijima instead, and they were joined by Otonashi and Katori. At dinner, the group discusses the movie Rice. Katori admits he wanted to see it because Otonashi mentioned she liked rice. Seijima casually mentions seeing Yukiya and Miyu at the theater, which excites Komori. Back at the office, Yukiya struggles to cheer up Miyu for missing dinner with her friends. Miyu suggests they play Shiratori. Yukiya agrees but accidentally gives her words ending in su. Eventually, Miyu says sukiyaki, almost saying suki, which means love. As their game continues, their friends try to guess which movie they watched on their date. While playing, Miyu receives a call and learns that her overtime is being extended. She dribbles during the call and shows it to Yukiya. They try to draw each other and make each other's drawings into their messenger icon. Miyu and Yukiya send their friends their drawings, but their friends are so overjoyed that they forget to respond. Eventually, Miyu and Yukiya receive the phone call they've been waiting for, marking the end of overtime. Yukiya invites her out to dinner, and she happily accepts. Yukiya notices an ad for a George the Kitten plate set and starts collecting points by buying bread at the convenience store. During his break, he eats with Miyu, and Komori joins them with instant udon. The next day, Seijima tells Komori that her tail is flipping up her skirt. When nervously admits he finds her tail cute, she playfully teases him back. Komori struggles through her morning routine and arrives at work exhausted. Miyu offers Komori candy to energize her. Komori is disappointed when the candy box contains a raccoon figure instead of a fox. Seijima, noticing the toy, tells her he used to collect them as a kid, which sparks Komori's interest in collecting them. Over the next few days, Komori finds new toys mysteriously left on her desk, and she starts to wonder who her secret helper is. Meanwhile, Yukiya realizes he miscalculated and won't be able to collect enough points for the plate set before the deadline. Komori eventually gets the last toy she needs from her candy box, feeling bittersweet that her mystery helper's gifts will stop. However, when Seijima notices the chick figure she received, he reveals that he's been the one leaving the toys for her. He tells her a new set of toys will be released soon, which includes a fox figure, exciting Komori. She thanks him and teases him about being unusually kind to her. Seijima nearly confesses his feelings, but quickly covers it up by saying it's his love for foxes that drives him. Meanwhile, Miyu offers her point sheet to Yukiya, explaining that she won't be able to win the plate set either, but by combining their points, Yukiya can at least get it. Yukiya wins the set and gives one of the plates to Miyu. At that moment, Katori walks in asking for help. He explains that Otonashi has been ignoring him ever since he confessed his desire to spend his life making her happy. Yukiya and Miyu realize that his choice of words may have caused a misunderstanding. Despite Katori's despair, Yukiya jokes that as a phoenix, he can always revive if Otonashi truly hates him. Miyu reassures Katori that Otonashi likely doesn't hate him considering how hard he works, which cheers him up instantly. Katori, still love-struck, loudly proclaims his feelings for Otonashi as she walks in to call him back to work. She scolds him for slacking off, but he says that it's his lunch break. Eager to follow her on her rounds, Katori offers to join her, but she turns him down. Miyu suggests that Otonashi might be misinterpreting Katori's words, but Katori admits he means exactly what he says. He confesses that he fell in love with Otonashi even before joining the company, was impressed by her speed, and grew to love everything about her after working alongside her. Miyu encourages Katori to find different ways to express his feelings. Katori tries flirting with Miyu as practice, which displeases Yukiya. Miyu wistfully mentions that she wishes she could have experienced school life with them, which leads Yukiya to imagine them as schoolmates. However, Miyu quickly adds that she's perfectly happy with their current lives. Later at work, a manager hands Yukiya 2 tickets to Nekami Land. At the office, Miyu notices Yukiya avoids eye contact. Komori suggests Miyu train him to look people in the eye. Miyu agrees and immediately instructs him to look at her. During the attempt, Miyu is the first to break contact, feeling flustered. Yukiya leaves to calm himself down and runs into the manager, who offers him 2 tickets to Nekami Land. Yukiya assumes the manager will go with him, but the manager clarifies he isn't interested in the amusement park. Instead, he suggests that Yukiya take Miyu. Yukiya, thrilled, agrees to go with Miyu. Later, Komori catches Yukiya researching Nekami Land and asks who he's going with. When he admits he's going with Miyu, Komori teases him, saying she's an annual pass holder and can offer tips. Miyu overhears the conversation and offers Komori her ticket, but Komori declines, repeating that she doesn't need it. Miyu then suggests that Komori join them anyway. Feeling Yukiya's glare, Komori quickly invites Seijima to avoid facing him alone. On Sunday, the group arrives at the amusement park, and Komori takes the lead. Miyu notices a lost girl and offers to take her to the Lost Child Center to find her parents. Miyu and Yukiya head in that direction, leaving Komori and Seijima alone. Seijima suggests they enjoy the park without the others, which flusters Komori. At the Lost Child Center, Miyu decides to stay with the little girl until her parents arrive. Yukiya, touched by her kindness, insists on staying too. He creates miniature snowmen that make the girl happy. When her parents finally arrive and pick her up, Yukiya attempts to call Seijima to rejoin the group, but Seijima ignores the call. Miyu apologizes for wasting Yukiya's time, but he reassures her that he's having fun just by seeing others enjoy themselves. Miyu expresses that she finds Nekami Land a fun and cute place and mentions how much she loves cats. Yukiya agrees, adding that her cat is especially cute. Yukiya notices a boy falling and helps him up. Miyu comments that Yukiya would make a great father since he's made 2 children smile that day. When they wonder where to go next, Yukiya suggests the Nyangoro cruise. During the ride, Miyu excitedly points out a cat figure that resembles Mimero. They continue touring the park, trying different rides and indulging in cat-themed food. On the Ferris wheel, Miyu admits that she started enjoying seeing other people happy, which causes Yukiya to create a snowfall out of pure joy, amusing the park-goers. At the souvenir shop, Miyu suggests they buy matching mugs. Yukiya innocently suggests they use them at the office, which flusters Miyu, making her worry about what their coworkers might say. Yukiya tries to tell Miyu something important, but Komori interrupts, urging them to hurry as the grand parade is about to start. The group enjoys the parade together, snapping pictures during the fireworks show. Seijima remarks that the experience feels reminiscent of their trip to Okinawa. On the commute home, Komori chatters away, but Miyu motions for her to keep quiet since Yukiya has dozed off. At their respective homes, Yukiya and Miyu both admire their matching mug sets. The group chats about what they would do if they won 1 billion yen. Miyu says she'd love to drink a Starbucks special drink every day. Komori shows her an ad for their Halloween special, pumpkin black pepper, but Miyu hasn't tried it yet. Yukiya mentioned that he'd like to try it too. After a client meeting, Yukiya finds an almost empty Starbucks and orders 4 pumpkin black peppers. He uses his snowman to keep the drinks cool and heads back to the office. When he catches Miyu on her break, he realizes she also bought everyone the special drink. Embarrassed, Yukiya tries to hide his batch, but Miyu is amused and suggests they share all the drinks, including with Katori and Otonashi. Yukiya also proposes giving one to their manager. Seijima spots a poster for the company's Halloween costume party, an event started by their president, a descendant of a Nururian. As the president appears, Miyu offers her the last drink. The president gratefully accepts but warns Miyu not to expect any advantage in winning the costume contest, where the prize is 100,000 yen. They meet up after work to discuss costumes, except for Katori and Otonashi, who are from a different division and will be competing against them. Yukiya fantasizes about cool costumes for Miyu, but she suggests they all wear pumpkin suits, much to his disappointment. Determined to help her find the pumpkin costume, they go shopping but discover that it's sold out everywhere, both in stores and online. They decide to try other costumes, and Miyu ends up trying on a vampire outfit, which flusters Yukiya. After shopping, Yukiya walks Miyu home. Before saying goodbye, she flicks his forehead as a playful trick, since he didn't treat her to candy when she wore the costume. He finds her cute and remains frozen in place as she heads inside. At the company, everyone finishes work and prepares for the party, but Miyu is still at a client meeting. The group notices a dejected Katori who explains that he prepared a costume for himself and Otonashi, but accidentally left it at home. Komori jokes that they should just cosplay themselves, but Seijima insists that Halloween costumes need to be scary. Yukiya receives a message from Miyu, saying she'll make it back in time for the party. He tells her about Katori's forgotten costume, and Miyu suggests dressing him and Otonashi as mummies using recycled paper. The group gets to work, and Yukiya sends Miyu a picture of the duo in their makeshift costumes. As the group finishes preparing in their vampire costumes, they notice that Katori and Otonashi's mummy costumes are drawing attention. Yukiya receives another message from Miyu, who asks him to meet her near the changing room. When he arrives with Komori, he panics upon seeing blood on Miyu's mouth, but she quickly reassures him that it's fake. At the party, their vampire group wins first runner-up, while Katori's group takes first place. Otonashi thanks Miyu for the costume idea and suggests splitting the prize since she arrived late. As they walk home, they pass the group that managed to buy the pumpkin costumes. Seijima and Yukiya talk about the upcoming Christmas season, and Yukiya secretly hopes to spend Christmas with Miyu. On his way home, Yukiya buys Miyu a Christmas present. A week before Christmas, Komori wins a trip to a ski resort and invites Yukiya, Miyu, and Seijima to make it a group Christmas outing. At the resort, Yukiya is assigned to teach Miyu how to ski. Miyu apologizes for making him teach her, but Yukiya reassures her that he's happy to help. He begins the lesson using vague instructions, so Miyu struggles and falls right away. Realizing he wasn't clear enough, Yukiya is surprised when Komori steps in and gives Miyu proper guidance. With Komori's help, Miyu quickly improves and starts skiing well. Komori suggests they take the ski lift the slope. Along the way, they notice tracks in the snow, and Komori jokes that they look like her mother's tracks. Miyu expresses curiosity about Komori's mother, but Komori laughs and clarifies that her mother is human. Seijima asks Yukiya about his family, and Yukiya mentions that they're normal and that he has a little sister who just started high school. Miyu is surprised, having never known this detail despite being office mates for so long. Yukiya adds that his sister works part-time at a ski lodge. When they arrive at the lodge, it turns out that Yukiya's sister, Yukimin, is working there. Yukiya introduces her to the group, and Yukimin proudly shares that she's also a streamer and model. Seijima finds her channel and notices that her most popular video is an eating challenge. Miyu finds it charming. Yukimin guesses that Miyu is the girl her brother often talks about, but before she can say more, she gets into an argument with Yukiya. Yukimin pulls Miyu aside to chat privately. She expresses concern about her brother's short temper, but Miyu reassures her that Yukiya is doing well at work. Suddenly, Yukimin hugs Miyu and declares her love for her, and Yukiya tries to pry his sister away. The group spends Christmas Eve together, with Miyu making takoyaki for everyone. Miyu checks if Yukiya will be okay because he's near a grill. He reassures her, and she promises to give him an extra octopus. After Miyu finishes cooking, they all enjoy warm takoyaki and champagne. When they run out of alcohol, Miyu and Yukiya volunteer to buy more. On their way to the store, they come across a giant Christmas tree, and Yukiya seizes the moment to give Miyu his present. She opens it to find a cozy blanket. Miyu smiles and says she doesn't feel cold when she's next to him. Yukiya is touched by her words and thanks her. Back at the lodge, Seijima notices Yukiya and Miyu have been gone for a while. Komori tells him not to worry and comments on how beautiful the snow is, and Seijima agrees as he gazes at her. On the trip home, Yukiya thinks about the earrings he originally bought for Miyu. He decided not to give them to her after overhearing girls say they didn't like receiving accessories they didn't ask for. As they ride back, Yukiya apologizes for his sister's behavior, but Miyu reassures him that she finds it amusing to see a different side of him. Yukiya texts his sister, "Good job," and reflects on how amazing this Christmas has been. Yukiya reflects on how a year has passed since he joined the company. He goes through a few items that remind him of special memories with Miyu. The company president announces that everyone can go home since there's not much work to do except clean their desks. Seijima asks everyone to hand over any documents they plan to throw out. When Miyu gives him a stack, she notices a drawing Yukiya made. Seijima asks if Yukiya plans to discard it, but Yukiya says that he'll pass it down to his descendants instead. On her walk home, Yukiya feels cold because he left his gloves behind. Miyu also forgot hers but says her hands are warm. She offers to hold his hand to share her warmth. Embarrassed, they quickly let go when a child sees them holding hands. At home, Yukiya thinks about tidying up his place but realizes there's nothing to clean. His sister, Yukimin, suddenly barges in and asks him to make 108 snowmen for her stream. She shows him a picture of Miyu, and Yukiya immediately starts conjuring snowmen. Later, Komori invites the group to celebrate New Year's Eve together online. During the video call, Seijima admits he's drinking barley tea before switching to alcohol. Miyu eventually joins, and they notice that she and Yukiya are drinking the same brand of beer. Komori asks to see Miyu's cat, Nimero, and Miyu brings her cat on screen, but feels embarrassed about being in her jogging pants. Katori and Atanashi join the call, both using virtual backgrounds to hide their messy rooms. Katori offers to reveal his room, but Komori suggests they do another toast instead. Seijima also switches to vodka after finishing his tea. Eventually, Katori drops his virtual background, revealing stacks of boxes of his artwork behind him. He shares that he recently moved closer to the office. Katori then suggests a group shrine visit the next day, and Miyu considers wearing a kimono. Everyone agrees except Komori, who has family plans. The following day, Yukiya arrives at the shrine early and decides to pull a fortune while waiting for the others. He draws a bad luck fortune, tries again, and gets worse luck, and on his third attempt, he gets the worst luck. Fortunately, he wakes up from the nightmare relieved it wasn't real. At the shrine, Yukiya meets Seijima, Otoneshi, and Katori, all dressed in kimonos. He shares his bad dream with them but can't help noticing that Miyu is missing. After a while, Miyu finally arrives and Yukiya feels lucky to see her in a kimono. As they explore the shrine, Yukiya and Miyu get separated from the group. Amid the crowd, Miyu trips but is caught by Yukiya just in time. The group reunites when Komori shows up, revealing that her family owns the shrine and she's helping out. Komori notices that Miyu and Yukiya seem closer. Seijima approaches Komori and hands her a protective charm. Meanwhile, Yukiya and Miyu finally reach the center of the shrine to make their wishes. Yukiya wishes for another chance to visit the shrine with Miyu by his side. Later, Yukiya is relieved to draw a fortune of medium luck and learns that Miyu's birthday is in February. Yukiya notices Miyu using the blanket he gave her for Christmas. As he considers giving her the present he originally bought for her, he hesitates, worrying that she might think he's being pushy. However, he musters up the courage to follow through. Meanwhile, Katori enters their department soaked from the rain, followed by Otoneshi, who informs the group that the trains have stopped running. This concerns Miyu and Komori, who dread the crowded transfer buses for their commute home. To avoid the hassle, the girls decide to stay at a nearby business hotel, while the guys make plans to stay at Katori's house. Later, at Katori's place, Seijima and Katori start playing video games, while Yukiya's thoughts linger on Miyu. At the hotel, Komori hides under a blanket, admitting she's afraid of the thunderstorm. Miyu recalls how her cat was also scared as a kitten and comforts Komori, telling her that she'll always be there for her. But Tonashi teases Komori about having a boyfriend, hinting at her closeness with Seijima. Komori denies it, insisting that they're just colleagues who happen to be around each other often. Komori retaliates by asking Otonashi about Katori, to which Otonashi responds that there's nothing romantic between them as she's merely mentoring him. The girls laugh, teasing each other, while Miyu listens quietly. Miyu admits that she doesn't know what being in love feels like, but a text message from Yukiya suddenly catches her attention. Her smile doesn't go unnoticed by the other girls, who instantly decide that it's the perfect time to start drinking. Back at Katori's, the boys wonder what Yukiya is doing. Soon, Miyu sends them a picture of her and the girls drinking at the hotel. Yukiya, feeling left out, accidentally freezes the room in his sadness. The next morning, Yukiya tries to catch up to Miyu on the way to work, but his nerves get the better of him and he freezes himself. He later wakes up from this bad dream, feeling anxious but determined. At the office, he overhears Komori learning that today is Miyu's birthday. He also finds out that Miyu has dinner plans with her parents, which pushes him to act quickly to give her the gift before she leaves. Yukiya tries multiple times to approach Miyu, but each attempt is thwarted either by her being busy or him being called away to work. Finally, after helping her with a task, he gathers the nerve to ask if he can walk her home that evening. During their walk, Yukiya grows nervous and accidentally freezes the area around them. Instead of being upset, Miyu is delighted and marvels at the snowy scenery, asking if this can be her birthday gift. Yukiya shyly hands her the actual present, wishing her a happy birthday. Miyu immediately tries on the earrings he gives her, asking if they look okay. Yukiya tells her she looks great. That night, Miyu takes her parents out to a restaurant to celebrate her birthday and quietly wonders what she should get Yukiya for his birthday. Komori eavesdrops on a conversation between Yukiya and Seijima, and mistakenly thinks Yukiya has asked Miyu to live with him. Bursting with excitement, Komori finds Miyu and congratulates her, leaving Miyu confused as she has no plans to move anywhere. Later, Yukiya confronts Komori about the misunderstanding. Komori defends herself, claiming she heard him say it. Yukiya clarified that he was talking about asking a stray cat to live with him. He shows her a picture of the cat and explains that he has been working on controlling his snow powers to avoid making blizzards when the cat is around, and it has taken days to get the cat to even approach him. When Miyu arrives, she notices the cat supplies and listens as Yukiya shares his plan to adopt the stray. She offers to help him catch the cat, and Yukiya invites her to join him after work. After work, the two stroll through the neighborhood searching for the stray cat. Miyu admires the scenery as they walk. They eventually find the cat, and Miyu effortlessly gets it to approach her. Yukiya feels a bit jealous of both of Miyu's easy way with cats and the cat for being in Miyu's arms. Miyu notices the cat seems trained and wonders if it's a lost pet. Just as they're discussing it, they spot a poster of a missing cat. They return the cat to its owner and say their goodbyes. Yukiya apologizes to Miyu for keeping her out late, but admits it worked out well, though he creates icicles out of sorrow. Miyu suggests that Yukiya visit her car if he ever needs a cuddle. She offers Sunday as a good time, and Yukiya agrees. When Sunday arrives, Yukiya wakes up in a great mood. He buys snacks from a cake shop before heading to Miyu's apartment. Upon arrival, he's greeted by Miyu and her cat, and he remarks that Nimero looks even cuter in real life than in pictures. Miyu invites him inside, and Yukiya gives her the cake he brought. He radiates happiness, causing different snowflakes to appear. Miyu notices and asks about it, and Yukiya explains it's diamond dust, which only shows up when he's truly happy. Miyu guesses that it must be because Nimero meowed at him. As they settle in, Miyu brings out new cat toys, but Nimero is more interested in the box. Miyu goes to get cat treats so they can all snack together. When Yukiya offers to help, their hands accidentally touch as they reach for plates, creating an awkward moment. Just then, the doorbell rings, and to Yukiya's surprise, his sister Yukimin shows up. She reveals that she's been visiting Miyu's apartment after work. Although Yukiya tries to ask her to leave, she decides to stay for cake. Miyu remarks that it's more fun with more people and shyly asks if she can visit his place next time. Yukiya accidentally creates a blizzard, causing Nimero to scamper off, but Miyu reassures him that her cat is just curious about the snow. By Monday, Yukiya is still glowing with happiness, and his colleagues quickly notice. When Miyu walks into the office, she observes the high spirits of everyone, leading her to smile. Later, Yukiya and Miyu meet at the train station. Yukiya and Miyu meet at the train station for their work trip. While waiting for the ride, they grab drinks and box lunches, opting for the octopus pot so they can keep the container as a souvenir. It marks their third matching set. Once aboard the train, they discuss the assignment their manager trusted them with. Yukiya asks about Miyu's cat, Nimero, and she reassures him that the cat will be fine alone for one night. Yukiya suggests they eat at a nearby restaurant when they reach the hotel. Miyu admits she's nervous about the trip, but feels comforted that Yukiya is her partner for this project. When they arrive, they immediately dive into work, attending meetings, and completing their tasks. At the end of the day, as they head to the hotel, Yukiya suddenly trips and collapses. He starts to melt and shrinks into his little form. Miyu feels his forehead and notices he's burning up. She suggests buying him ice cream to cool down, but Yukiya explains that he'll just have to wait for the fever to pass. Miyu cancels their dinner plans and insists on going to the hotel to rest. Once inside Miyu's room, she proposes that they share it while he's unwell, so she can take care of him. Yukiya protests, but Miyu insists. As they go back and forth, Yukiya accidentally falls on top of her. Embarrassed, he moves away when his phone rings. The manager assigns him a report that he needs to submit right away. Miyu offers to write the report for him so he can rest. After finishing the work, she heads out to buy him something to eat like gelatin. As she leaves, Yukiya worries that he's only cause for trouble. When Miyu returns, she finds Yukiya asleep in his melted form and admires how adorable he is as he sleeps. He eventually wakes up in his normal form and notices Miyu asleep on the couch. Feeling guilty for taking her bed, he admires her quietly, but doesn't want to disturb her. In the morning, Miyu wakes up and sees Yukiya is back to normal, though still a bit unwell. She realizes he stayed up because he felt bad about using the bed but doesn't dwell on it, instead offering him breakfast. They eat convenience store food and coffee together in the room before checking out. As they return to their town, they notice the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. They pause at the spot where they first met, reflecting on their journey. Yukiya thanks her for always being there, and they reminisce about how much things have changed. Miyu confesses she had been nervous about not making close friends because of her reserved nature, but meeting Yukiya made everything better. Likewise, Yukiya admits he was scared of not being able to live a normal life due to his snow powers, but Miyu helped him find joy in everyday moments. They share kombu snacks just like the first time they met before heading back to the office. The usual group eagerly awaits their return, welcoming them back warmly. They meet again on the weekend with Yukiman for flower viewing under the cherry blossoms and have a grand time.